Okay, thank you guys. Please share this out. Please click the like button, the share button. If you see this on my timeline, Angela's timeline, a friend's timeline, thanks for everybody. We are becoming a podcast. So we're going to get started here. We got some great topics for you. We're going to have a little piece of audio from the book. If you have not gotten your book, the Michelle Obama book, that's what this is about, as well as the fact that Michelle Obama is on tour. And I was just watching a couple of stories where she was just, I think, in Cleveland with Carla Hall hosted that one. And I think Angela said we will have Gail King here
Yes.
in Atlanta. So we're excited. But I wanted to Angela, I'm gonna grab my phone, my other device here, because I wanted to go to a website and I want all of y'all to follow me there before we get started. I want to make sure because the last time I introduced Angela, I told you guys what she has been to me. But I literally want to go to, is it angelastalkup.com?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go because I saw the best bio ever written on there. Let me see here. Let me get over there. I'm trying to bring you guys on and type at the same time. Let me see here. All right, and then my typing is not the best. I needed to go get a manicure today. Let's see. So for those of you that are coming in, I'm Yalanda, and most people know me as at DryerBuzz. Just days into my 17th year blogging about Atlanta, blogging about justice. Oh my God, so many different lanes. Entertainment. I've done the celebrity. I'm now in the kitchen cooking. Went into caregiver space, coming out of that, putting my blog hat back on, producer hat, podcaster. And I am podcasting with you today with Angela Stalcup. She is a marketing and strategy professional with 20 years of experience in marketing communication, strategic planning. You'll hear that come out as we have this conversation. Business process improvement and business development for small businesses and large corporations. Angela is my pivot partner. She helps me pivot. Some of you have seen her before, especially at Breakfast with DryerBuzz. If you checked out the YouTubes that we have out there, absolutely awesome. So please welcome Angela Stalkup to the podcast.
Yay. I feel like I should have you should have that little applause sound.
I know, right?
Yay.
That next time, now I got to add on a layer of that. I tell you, I'm putting my producer skills on there, but let me just give you an
Yay. Well,
applause.
I'm like, this is why I do this with you, Yolanda, because I'm like, okay, I can go now. That was like, ah, yes. So,
Let's also welcome in broadcast geek Sherry as well coming in. Some others are coming in. JJ has come in. Okay, and we'll do shout out if you guys come in. We'll if you have questions, we'll talk about it. You can also one other person I think can dial in here and there. And we are recording this live, guys. Before I give the 3, 2, 1, and we actually officially start. We are recording this live on Periscope, but it will land on your other platforms. So you'll be able to go and tell friends, hey, listen, catch this, listen to this, subscribe. We definitely need you to subscribe here on Periscope, but also we're on Spotify, waiting on the approval on the Apple Podcasts and all the other platforms. We load it through Anchor, and as you know, Anchor syndicates it everywhere. So Angela, if somebody comes up and say, hey, wait, I think I heard your voice on the podcast, believe you me, it's going everywhere. So really
hmm
excited about that. Now, one more long-winded thing is how we decided to do this. Michelle Obama, as I said, is coming to Atlanta. Angela got some golden tickets, as you all know how they distributed the tickets. So she invited me along, and I said, you know what, we really need to do something as a countdown. And we decided to go through the book and go through. We also have the book and the audio, and they work very well together. But something as a countdown leading up to that day, and a lot of things that we all have to work through. And today's topic, Angela, I was just literally in text message. You know, she has a couple of things. I was like, okay, well, let's do this. And we settled on becoming good enough.
which I will applaud.
And you know, and the funny thing about it was when we both said it, we both agreed upon it. You could tell we were both kind of processing that
hmm
because I don't know a person, even in all the gurus out there. even in all the confident people that we know, even in all the successful people and people on every level, I don't know a person who really can confidently say that. Do you?
No. And I think that's when and I'm going to give Yolanda credit for, I was throwing all kinds of stuff up there for bringing it together in that, because it's true. There's always this sense of not enoughness, not good enough. I should be doing more. And we've got terms for it now, right? Imposter syndrome, and we got. I saw someone talk about scammer syndrome, which was a new one
Mm-hmm.
to me. Is that they feel like not only are they an imposter, but they're scamming people by
Mm-hmm.
just promoting what they do. This was a person who said this that thought she had scammer syndrome. 7 years of a successful business and was trying to get investors. It felt like every time she went in to pitch investors, she felt like she was scamming them. And I'm like, wow, okay. So,
I
and
noticed
if
you
you,
said she.
yes, it was a she.
Mm.
And this does tend to be a problem with women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although you did point out an example in current media right now. If you watch Queer Eye in the new season, there's a guy who cannot say he's good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
is this is not just women, but we seem to be more, living in it, I think. And that was one of the things, as because I'm now on my, I've listened to the audiobook. I've got the print book of Becoming. I'm rereading it in print, and reading it in print maybe is what made that stand out to me, is the number of times that Michelle Obama talked about good enough and
Mm-hmm.
enoughness, right? Starting from the time she was a child. She's constantly returning to this, am I enough? Am I enough? Am I enough?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, we look, and even as a child looking at her from the outside, everybody around her is telling her, yeah, you're great, you're great. And she's like, I'm not enough. I look at Michelle Obama, I'm like, I think you're probably enough, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you have, like you say, who, if you're Michelle Obama and you're still thinking you're not enough, right? This means there ain't enough that there's nothing you're ever going to do that's going to be the cure to that, right? So I think this is a really good topic because it holds us back in so many ways. And to use this sort of her experience as the lens of it, because like you say, when you hit that, I was like, God, don't we all think about it? Even if we think we're good enough right now, right? Because we're constantly back to this theme of becoming, we're in process. So even when as we become one thing, we're moving into the next thing, and so there's always something new. Therefore we're always struggling with that good enoughness.
And I think we can all find examples of that. And I went through it just yesterday. My daughter is in this phase of constantly reminding me because I am, I didn't know it until I watched the movie Juanita that I
Mm-hmm.
was on a quote unquote sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wrote an article, a review of the movie, and they pinned it to say that they called it Black Woman's Sabbatical. That black women are taking sabbaticals, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of what I've been on, because I have been looking at it as maybe I've been a little too lackadaisical, even though my children are saying, Mom, God, you've been going, going, going. It's okay to take time. Even yesterday, my daughter had to say to me, I was getting ready to go grind. She's like, what do you need? What is it that you need that you can't sit down?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking the what ifs. We constantly tell ourselves it's not enough, and it's a women live it out loud. I think men internalize it
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because they have to put on a mask and a front and a facade and a physique of they are enough. They have to go through life demonstrating that, even though they still get in their moments. And I learned that because, DryerBuzz, we have a huge male following. Oftentimes, it sways more than females at times. And you see men at the breakfasts and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they always say to me, because it's easy for us as women to say, okay, we have a flaw, let's work on it, let's tribe up around it. They don't get a chance to do that. They have to deal with it kind of internally and alone, and just kind of really keep it going. And we don't even, I don't know that we even know how to allow men to become
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable in front of us. Okay, so when I say that, and I'm sitting here, I said, well, I cannot let this broadcast go without saying I am enough. But every time I get to the edge of that sentence,
Hmm.
I think of something else. Well, maybe if I did this, or
Right.
maybe if I did that, it's like even Michelle Obama. It's like she was just first lady. I don't know where do you go after first lady? We haven't seen them go too many other places, right?
Right. Well, it's like where do you go after you've walked on the moon? Right? It's like I've walked on
Exactly.
the moon. I've been at the top. Where do you go? Right? And yet she's a young woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's still thinking about what's next, what's next, what's next. And so you know, so to that point, it's like there's wherever you get to, and I think that I am enough now, right? Maybe we have to put
Ooh,
now,
put
right?
the
I'm
nail on
enough
it. Okay.
now. I'm enough in this moment, right?
Ooh.
In this moment right
Wait,
now.
wait, now, wait. Who gets to live in the moment? Where do they do that?
That's right. When do we do that, right? When do we do that? And and it's a beautiful thing about being a human being that we
Mm-hmm.
have this ability basically to live in multiple time streams, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can be in the past, we can be in the present, we can be in the future. We tend to either be in the past or the future and not in the present. And that's why our mind is thinking anytime we say I'm enough. So you're talking about I'm going to say I'm enough, right? And I say it, I'm enough. And like you say,
Mm-hmm.
there's a voice that says, no, you're not. No, you're
And
not.
and when you say, when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about becoming good enough,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't feel like you're good enough and you're living in the past, you're probably dealing with a bit of depression. I saw this as a
Mm-hmm.
meme on Facebook. The past meaning depression, the future anxiety, right? It associates that.
Yes.
So if you don't believe that you're good enough and you're living in the past, then you're probably living with some depression. If you don't believe you're good enough and you're living looking too forward to the future and things that the what ifs, then you're probably dealing with a lot of anxiety, right? Unless you can say, if you can truly say, I'm good enough, then if you're living in the past, then you're probably celebrating and savoring
Mm-hmm.
the things that went well. If you believe you're good enough and you're already looking forward to the future, then there's a bit of excitement there
Yeah.
because you know that no matter what happens, you do well at adjusting and overcoming and excelling, right? So there's a difference there. The question is, like you said, is like, are you good enough? And you gave me a clip. I'm going to play the longer clip because I
Okay.
know we just started, just so we can kind of catch our breaths and kind of really set the tone for this. And so, clip from Michelle Obama's Becoming Michelle Obama. We're also using the hashtag. There are a couple of hashtags out there if you want to follow her journey as she is out on tour with the book. It's of course Becoming Michelle Obama, but then there are also We Are Becoming and I Am Becoming, depending on where you are in your journey, if you want to start using those hashtags and get in on the conversation. And again, we are taping this live on a Tuesday, 4 p.m. ish on Periscope. So if you want to engage with us live, if you're hearing this as a podcast or other platforms, you can always catch us there. Here's the clip. World. This may be the fundamental problem with caring a lot about what others think. It can put you on the established path. The my isn't that impressive path, and keep you there for a long time. Maybe it stops you from swerving, from ever even considering a swerve, because what you risk losing in terms of other people's high regard can feel too costly. Maybe you spend 3 years in Massachusetts studying constitutional law and discussing the relative merits of exclusionary vertical agreements in antitrust cases. For some, this might be truly interesting, but for you, it is not. Maybe during those 3 years, you make friends you'll love and respect forever. People who seem genuinely called to the bloodless intricacies of the law. But you yourself are not called. Your passion stays low, yet under no circumstance will you underperform. You live as you always have, by the code of effort result, and with it, you keep achieving until you think you know the answers to all the questions, including the most important one. Am I good enough? Yes, in fact, I am. That's pretty good. That's the question. So she has given us the question, and we have got to get to the point where we can say, yes, I am. And I don't know. I
Well, and the
still don't know.
context of this, I think, is so interesting. If you've got the print copy or the Kindle, this is chapter 7, and it's sort of her where she's talking about her schooling and this sort of constant nagging that she's not enough, right?
It
And
sounds like she might have been talking to the younger herself. You know how people
yes,
ask you all the time,
mm-hmm,
what would you say to your younger self?
mm-hmm,
And every time I'm asked that question, I get overwhelmed because I think about the younger self, and I would just have to say, thank you for surviving it all. Thank you for
yes,
the courage and the confidence, and because I wish I could get back to that confidence, because throughout life things beat you up, man. So that's
and
wow.
that's and so in that clip, really toward the end, I think is a key part of this, where she says, "You live as you always have, by the code of effort result." And she talks earlier in the effort result, effort result. That's striving, right? She talks about striving, and with it, you keep achieving until you think you know the answer, right? So when she says, "Am I good enough?" Yes, I am. She doesn't really think she's good enough at this point, even as
Mm,
she's talking to her past self, because
mm-hmm.
she's like, if I keep doing enough, right? And she talked about she lived like with check boxes. I got to check it off. I got to check it off.
Mm,
So she's coming along. She's like, okay, if I'm just good in school, I'm going to be good enough. And then it's like, well, if I just get a great job, I'm going to be good enough. And if I, at every point, it's like, and if I'm sure she was like, and I'm going to marry the right man, because she had planned to be married and have a marriage kind of like her parents, and I'm going to have kids, and we're going to have a house, and we're going to make money, and then we're going to put the kids through college, and we're going to retire, and da da da. She had a plan, right? And if I can
mm-hmm.
just get to this point in my plan, I'm good enough, because it's effort result, effort result. Nothing wrong with that, right? We've got to
Mm,
work, right?
mm-hmm.
But she was her that not enoughness is an empty pit. It's a well that can never be filled. And this is what I found so fascinating about this, is it doesn't matter then how good other people are telling you are. It doesn't matter much you achieve, how many boxes you check off, because that well can never be filled with effort result. That's
Mm-hmm.
not it, because you'll never ever ever do enough, unless you're just a sociopath and you don't care about anything, and then you're like, you don't care, a narcissist maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But people
Mm-hmm.
who don't have a personality disorder, that striving and working, which is important, but that's not going to be the solution to good enough, because as you said, as soon as you get to a thing, you can either go back and think about the mistakes you made, or you can be thinking, now, dang it, I got 10 more things I need to do, right? Because there's always another thing to be checked off. And I
In
think
this other
that's,
clip,
yeah.
she talks about the whole what somebody else thinks. Let me tell you, my survival of the last couple of years has been getting rid of what others think. I say that when you
Mm-hmm.
talk about effort and results, the effort is still there to solicit, right, what someone else thinks. But I find I have to force myself to be comfortable with the results regardless of what someone else thinks. Want me to play that one? This one's just a little short
Yeah.
clip.
Yeah.
Okay.
My to-do list lived in my head and went with me everywhere. I assessed my goals, analyzed my outcomes, counted my wins. If there was a challenge to vault, I'd vault it. One proving ground only opened on to the next. Such is the life of a girl who can't stop wondering, am I good enough? And is still trying to show herself the answer.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm,
You think you'll work your way
wow.
there, and, and you don't, because
I,
that's not how she came to have peace with
right.
feeling enough. But
I can't. This is such a good one, because this is one where I wish I could say to people it gets solved at some point in
yep.
life.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could. You hear people say, "Man, I wish I knew then what I know now," and I so truly wish that we could say, okay, at 30s, in your 30s, you figure out your 20s, in your 40s, you figure out your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, I don't know that you ever figure, because maybe, let's go back to the 5-year old Michelle Obama, the
Mm-hmm.
5-year old us, right? That formulation of life, that formulation of social skills, that formulation of, because before you enter into that environment, you think about it before you enter into that environment of our social hierarchy, right? You are all about what you think. You're all about what you feel. You wake up as a child, and you like this is what I want to do, and then you somewhere along the line, the hierarchy comes into place. I got to be with the cool kids, or I got to do the cool thing. I got to wear the cool stuff. I got to achieve this. I got to achieve that, and it's this voice that's cycling through your head, those voices that you continue to hear that has a lot to do with how you act in society. And it comes down to, again, in society, because who's putting these pressures on us? Who has the louder voice of us becoming good enough? And for me, I know that for me, and I'm going to shout some of the people that are coming in and watching it and definitely tapping hearts. For me, this particular year, 2018, I could not survive 2018 unless I stepped away from what somebody thinks. Because, and I'm going to tell you, throughout my life, because I've had to live it all different than everybody else. Because I see people doing stuff and I'm like, man, I've never experienced that. I didn't do that. I have been such a person. When I go, when I learned this, when it really comes home to me, when I go to the barber shop, and
Mm.
most of I wear a crop cut, right? And I'm sitting in the chair and I'm listening and I'm being asked all of these things about life and this going on and that going on. And I'm like, man, I have just so totally been preoccupied. I have been so totally preoccupied with a lot of things. So I've always kind of been that person where I cannot gauge what I'm doing by what someone else thinks. Doesn't mean I don't think about that, because periodically, depending on where you are in society, it does slip in as to how you measure up. Does that make sense? It's like, as
Abs-
much as I want to stay away from it, there are times when I need to come back into society, and it becomes all over again how you measure up.
Yes, and it's interesting because there was another clip that I thought, and I couldn't figure out how to put it together because it's basically about 3 pages in the book, right? If it's would be,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's chapter 6. It's page 65 through 67, where she talks about doubters, right?
Mm.
And so, and I think you hit it. I mean, you hit it, right? We start basically with very little self doubt. If we have pretty supportive family and positivity,
Mm-hmm.
right, in our lives, we're like I said, little kid is like, I can do it, and you're like, don't climb that, you'll fall off. I can do it. We are naturally striving, right, with no pressure. And then we enter society and we start getting the doubters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what she describes as noise, right? It's the
Mm.
noise. So you have the noise from outside that now you take into yourself. We internalize that doubt and that noise. And I think this is, again, conversation for probably another day. Depending on who you are in culture, there may be layers and layers of noise now that you're internalizing, right? Where do you fit in what is being said about you by the greater culture? And of course, throw in your family and whatever. And so we take that in, and then we don't have, society doesn't have to tell us, right? Now it's just us. Now we're playing the recording. And so many of our self doubts really are doubts that have been given to us by a culture, a society, maybe from our family. And that if we sit and think about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is, I'm enough right now, right? I'm enough in this present moment. Is that really even my own doubt, right?
Mm.
Right?
Is it my voice?
Is it right? Am I hearing my own voice in my head, or is this somebody else's voice? And I think this is a great quote. If you got the book, it's on page 67. I believe it's the end of chapter 5. She says, "Most successful people I know have figured out how to live with the noise of doubt, right? To lean on the people who believe in them and push onward with their goals." Is that not exactly what you just said, Yalanda?
Mm. And I mean, and that's it, because you mentioned also people who may have not have had great upbringings or
Mm-hmm.
childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
They have still were able to go out and find a tribe or find a voice. I mean, you think about people getting through today. I just want to shout out, so we don't have to read all these names at the end, because people are really liking and sharing the podcast. Beauty Mistress just came back in. Jib 5, Codsworth, East. Eastern. I think that says Latana. Let's see, Lou, Clava, Borex, Alex, all you guys coming in. I'm going to scroll through this again at the end. But again, if you're catching this on any other platform, we do record it live and interactive for you on Periscope on Tuesdays. And you can come in as a third voice. You have a question or a comment and let us know. We're talking about becoming, for those that are just coming in, the podcast. We're becoming a podcast. We are hashtag we are becoming on the countdown of Michelle Obama's Atlanta visit. Angela and I are both coming to you live from Atlanta. And we are excited because our date is in May. So we like, well, we
Yay.
got some time. Maybe we can continue the conversation, kind of talk about it. We're breaking down the book. If you've got the book, if you've got the audio, the clip. In fact, you can tell them the time that the clips that we played was actually coming out of chapter 7.
Yep.
Angela has read a piece out of chapter 5. And so we just want to allude to that for those of you that are coming in on the book club tone, because I know you want to reference that. But we're talking about becoming good enough and just trying to figure out if we ourselves, as well as you guys, can say that and can say it with a level of confidence. And I know now, because even as much as I have accomplished, I was talking on, I do the How to Get Out of Bed podcast in the morning, and I had a kind of a dark day Saturday, I believe. I think, no, it was a Sunday afternoon. I thought, in fact, I went all day Sunday thinking it was Saturday. It was such an absolute gorgeous day. And I had an event, and I haven't covered anything, I haven't done anything in a while. And I'm over here literally dusting off my equipment. And I said, you know what? I've got to push through. I've got to push through. I have got to go to this. There were 3 events that day. I said, I want to make it to one. And when I walked in, not believing I was good enough, I'm like, man, who am I to go to this? Who am I to show up?
Mm-hmm.
The voice in my head is like,
Mm-hmm.
man, you were a blogger, you did this, yeah, whatever. Who are you to walk in this thing? And when I opened the door, twice this has happened where I have gone out. I can't tell you the work it takes to get dressed to go, but walked in the building and the embrace is
Mm-hmm.
so amazing. And it reminds me because somebody went to introduce me and they said, oh, I got to introduce you. And the person goes, I know her. I know everything about her. I follow, I
Mm-hmm.
watch. And they came to one of the, it might have been at the breakfast you were at, Angela, but again, it comes back to you can't believe you're good enough if you're not savoring your accomplishments. Michelle Obama talked about that, the to-do list and the things that you've done, but yet you're still seeking something. So if we don't believe that we're good enough, even you've got 20 years in this, I've got 20 years, 17 years with DryerBuzz, and to be at this point and even to be able to find an ounce of doubt, where did how do we cross over to that where we realize it's enough? Can we do that in one podcast?
Well, no, but it's not. Our podcast is not enough. But no, our podcast is enough. But to say, and I think this is such a good point. I just was invited to do a speaking engagement next month to speak about success and leadership. And literally,
Which
when I
clearly you can.
which and I got the email, hey, we'd like for you to come speak. And do you know, I thought, can I really think, can I really speak about success and leadership? Do I feel like a successful leader? And I'm like,
Mm.
shut up. And so sometimes you've just got to look at yourself and say,
Yes.
please,
Mm-hmm.
girl,
Mm-hmm.
please, like you say, read your own bio, right?
Right.
And I think this is where your friends, right? This is where having your tribe, this is where having your cheerleaders, right? This is where you're having your fans, right? Your supporters, meaning the people that you mutually support. Sometimes you still need to hear somebody say, you know what? Yeah, you can talk about that. You've been doing this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, when you have lived long enough, you understand success. If you're still living, you've successfully lived. You can speak about it, right? but I think part of it is catching ourselves when we're feeling it. And that's because a
Ooh.
lot of times it comes so quickly. It's just like I say, it's like a dark shadow that comes across that we may not even realize that that's what we're feeling. We just know that something doesn't feel right, or we feel off, or then, as you say, we have anxiety or depression, maybe procrastination. I think that's how things show up for me a lot. It's procrastination. And so there's something that we want to do and we're just not getting to it. Is it because it's not a thing I need to be doing? Sometimes procrastination is just a good indication that your intuition is telling you that's not for you, right? It's not for me. But maybe the issue is that I've let some of this not enoughness come in. As you say, who am I to walk in this room? Who am I to make this proposal? Who am I to bid for this piece of business, right? Who am I to start this company? Who am I to put myself out there? And, if we got to catch ourselves, and many times if we can just put a name on it of what we're feeling, it's like, again, it only takes one match to light up a dark room, right? One little bit of light goes a long way. Just putting a little bit of light on that negative thought many times is enough to dissipate it, at least at a base, I'm going to say at a high level. If you have very serious, to your point, very serious issues with depression and anxiety, by all means, you may need to seek professional help. You may need a therapist or a counselor. And certainly, I've benefited from every version of that, right? From a therapeutic setting to great friends to church setting to my family, whatever. But we do need to have that reflected back at us. And so it's a concept that I have talked about many times. And anybody who's hearing this, who's heard me speak, I like to talk about the loving mirror, right? And that we're told, now, believe in yourself, feel good about yourself. You're enough. You tell yourself you're enough. Well, if we don't see it, right? If I look in the mirror and I just see not enoughness and I can't do it, how am I ever going to believe it? I'm going to say I'm good enough. And the person in the mirror says, no, you're not. So sometimes before we can tell ourselves, we need a loving mirror. We need a person who can hold the mirror up of what they see of us, right? And they can say, I see that you're enough. I see that you're talented. I see that you're successful. I see that you have authority. I see that you have experience. And even if you can't believe it right now, I can see that in you. And you can trust my mirror is a loving mirror. And so if we can, sometimes we got to go to the loving mirror, right? And that's, like you say, that's our tribe, that's our support system who can hold that for us until we can see ourselves in our own loving mirror. And that is, to me, the heart of all of this, right? Is finding loving mirrors. Loving mirrors don't lie, right? Loving mirrors don't not tell you where there's issues you got to work on. It's not about fuzzy mirrors, right? But the
Right.
loving mirror highlights the best part of you first so that you can see that and gives you a grounded place from which to do everything else. And so, I think that right there, if you can't be the loving mirror, and sometimes you just don't, I'm not feeling it, go find your loving mirror. And don't go to the person, we all know these people who, in the name of, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to give you tough love. Nothing wrong with that. But there are people who will never show you the loving mirror. And that's fine. If you want to have the critical mirror, go for it,
And
right?
that's usually where we turn.
Yes. So just be aware of that, right? Look to the loving mirror. And again, that can sometimes get us up out of that. And that's exactly what you experience when you walk in this room. And there's the loving mirror, right? The person who, again, and in this case, completely unsolicited, who goes, oh my God, I'm your number one fan, right?
Exactly.
And you're like, oh my
Unsolicited.
gosh.
Yeah.
And look at what that did for you. And then you're like, yeah, now I can see it. It's just sometimes it's like scales on the eyes. You just gotta, it's like, oh, now I can see. I've got my glasses on, right? Call them my unicorn glasses. I got my glasses on. And now I can see magic, right? Now I see my own magic, right?
Right.
And so that, and do that for other people, right?
And you know what? And that's the best example you can give. Do it for other people. Something I have said when I look back trying to savor and looking for, as you said, the loving mirrors. It's like I went in there with the fear of me walking in this room, for after some time because I feel like, I'm cloaked in the trauma kind of thing. and yet there's this big smile and so forth. But do it for other people. I went there with a level of service in mind, right? It's like this person is here, they're out there, they're doing something good. I know there aren't many storytellers for the good side, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I chose, because I remember I had a litany of things that were going on Sunday, and I said, you know what I was trying to because I'm trying to remember how to do this. And I said, the best results, all result. You said effort and
Mm-hmm.
results, and I said to myself, the best results always came when I really wasn't looking for something, and I was really going to serve somebody else. So in
Mm-hmm.
deciding on the things I was going to do that day, I said, where could I be of most service? What event or effort, what effort could I echo the most or the best that would best benefit from being on my platform or being on the things that I offer? Where could I have the most impact? Not because I wanted or needed anything out of it. In fact, while I was there, people were saying, well, DryerBuzz, get on camera. Why aren't you doing a photo shoot? It wasn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody was like, I want to see you doing that, and I understand, but I'm in a place where I can't do it for me. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna let my talent go to waste. I'm gonna let my opportunities I have go to waste. I'm gonna shine the light on somebody else. So that in what you're saying, at the end of the day, even though I didn't have me in mind, it helped me to see that I was good enough. I love the word enoughness.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you are describing is an exercise that you can do with your friends. You can
Mm-hmm.
even do with people. It's actually sometimes good to do with people that don't know you very well, which is it's an opportunity to unlock your creativity, which is rather than saying I'm going to work on myself, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to see how I can serve somebody else. And so what you do is you basically say, I'm going to, maybe we're talking about, we're going to brainstorm, right? I'm going to brainstorm for somebody else. I'm not going to think about myself, right? I'm not going to pitch myself. I'm just going to help them, right? How do I
Right.
help this person? In your case, how do I promote them? And it's like, and I'm not even worrying about myself. I'm just focused on this other person. Well, what that does is that gets us out of that doubt mind for ourselves, right?
Mm.
That gets us out of that part that closes us down to our own creativity, our own intuition, to all those pieces that are really an important part of, like, again, I think of it as the undergirding of action, right? And so
Right.
you got to have that, you got to come off of something, right? And so when you're doing that, that starts to unlock. I mean, like it's neuroscience. I'm sure one day I'll have to find the study that I read on this, right? But when you do that, you're using a section of your brain that's about creativity and problem solving. You get that all lit up. Guess what? It starts creatively solving your problems, your own problems, because that part of your brain is activated. And sometimes we can't activate that by just saying, I'm going to do it for myself. It's only when we do it for others. And
Ooh.
that's where I really believe very strongly in servant leadership. And so when you are doing that, Yolanda, when you are there in service, and this is why people are like, I follow you, right? It's because you have this, again, you're this undergirding of service, right? This foundation of service, right? Then that's a type of leadership. You can be there and not be in front of the camera and not be on stage and just sitting there as a cheerleader, and you are a leader, cheerleader, right? You can
Oh,
be a leader.
and
And
and I'll give you a story to that story time. When you say that, because when I got to this place in life, and let's say that, like I said, you've been doing what you've been doing for 20 years. I've been in it. We both got these decades in doing this, and we couldn't wait for this to become the norm in life, right? And
mm-hmm,
I'm pretty sure you feel it the same way. Like, all of a sudden what was normal for us is now mainstream.
mm-hmm,
We spent all this time trying to convince people that this is what you should be doing. And I said, man, but I can't go back and start doing, can't do it all again, because I feel like I'm tired. And people are saying, man, I thought you would do this, and I thought you would do that. Okay, well, I did it. Yeah, it didn't have the audience that it has today. It
mm-hmm,
didn't have the understanding that it has today. In fact, my own family didn't really understand what it is I did until now that everybody's doing it, right? But at the same time, I had to tell myself the way that I became comfortable with, the way that I became enough or started really knowing that I was enough. I had to tell myself, you won the race. You don't get back in the race. Where has it, this is a
Mm-hmm.
conversation I have with me. Where has there ever been a person who won the race and got back in it?
Thank you.
It's like you've completed the mirror. Whether I want to say I won the race or I scored or whatever. Who completes a marathon and then because it's a marathon, okay? Who completes it and then goes back to the start line or gets back in it or goes, oh, you're at mile 5. Oh well, there's some good things going on in mile 2. Who goes back to mile 2?
Right.
That's the conversation I had to say to myself. When people say, and it's okay to have been ahead of the game, having to say that, it's okay to have been ahead of the curve or ahead of the game or out in the forefront or having done it already, even though things have changed, even though it might be a little bit more lucrative now, whatever, I had to say that I'm good enough. That enoughness. It's like, girl, you can't go rerun that marathon.
No,
Okay.
that is it. And this is why people who run marathons, right? People who do, because I did some 5K, 10K stuff, is and when I first started doing it, I didn't get, like, you do these races and they use them to raise money, right? And one of the things you can do is you can get a medal. But you buy the medal, right?
Basically.
You get a certificate, right, or whatever, but you buy the medal. And I was like, I'm not gonna buy a medal. And now I'm like, why didn't I buy medals? Because so that I could go and look and see how many races I had run
And savor.
and
Savor.
savor it and celebrate myself. And see, this is what we have got to do, because we're so fast to be, like, say, either we think we got to go run that other race because we forgot we ran it. Oh God, I
Right.
already ran that.
Yeah, I did
Or
this.
or we're so fast to say, now I'm going to go run another race. You got to rest between your races, right? You can't.
Ooh,
You've got
write
to
that
rest.
down. Rest
Yes,
between races, y'all.
you've got to, and you've got to have recovery. This is, again, I love running as a metaphor for so many things. We could do a whole thing on that, Yolanda, because you have to have downtime. You have to stop, or you can't keep going. So yeah, rest between your races. Yay, hashtag. But it's but to say that, but to celebrate, you got to remember what you did. And sometimes we're going so hard and so fast, back to checking them boxes off, effort result, that we don't even think about what we've done. So, I don't care what you're doing. You just need to have a bullet point resume of your life for you. This is not that you share for anybody. This is for you. Every accomplishment. That's not just professional, that's personal. You did it. And you start writing this stuff down. Oh yeah, I forgot I did that. I forgot I did that. And then don't be afraid to share your successes. There's a lot of backlash to people, like, oh, why people on social media and they're talking about themselves and blah, 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 blah. When your friends celebrate something and they share something, jump on there and say yay, right? And because that's a good place to record and document your wins, right? And that's okay. We're not going to share all of our losses because sometimes they're painful and we don't want to put them out there to where we're looking at them all the time. And so just because people are showing that they're winning doesn't mean that they're not losing as well, right? But if
Ooh.
but if we can celebrate ourselves and celebrate others, like you say, that's going to keep us. I love that. Don't go run that same race. You've already run it. And it's okay to go then and say, I'm done with this kind of racing and now I'm going to do that racing, right? And everybody else is still just doing this kind of racing that you've already been doing for 20 years. You're like, you know what? I've already done that. I don't need to prove I can do that. Now I'm ready to go do something else. And I think
Because I am enough.
I'm enough.
I
And
am enough.
there
Oh
you
my
go.
goodness. I'm telling you guys, this is a good one. Let me just acknowledge some more people again. If you're catching this as a podcast on other platforms, Sherry 800 said, yes, I hear the leader in the sound of her voice. Wawakan, thank you so much for coming in. TTD came in. Sheila Country Living also came in. Guys, I'm trying to scroll through Alex, Twit, Emmett, and oh my God, so many names on there. So if you're catching this on the podcast on any other platform, we do it live and interactive. So thank you for those of you that have joined on live. Sheila Country Living says, love this. Follow
Yay.
on Periscope at Angela Stalcup, at DryerBuzz. I'm Yalanda Lattimore. Most people call me at DryerBuzz, which is my blog life online. And one of the races, the new race that I'm in is in the cooking community on Periscope. So I'm live cooking there. Angela is, as you heard, she's got speaking opportunities coming. We're both counting down the day that Michelle Obama is going to arrive in Atlanta. So we decided rather than just wait, because we love to go jump in other races.
Yes, we do.
Clearly, we are always trying to do something more, and have been looking for the perfect opportunity to get together. And I think this is absolutely it. So on May, well, this is going to continue on to and through May 11th. When Michelle Obama arrives in Atlanta, I know she is visiting your city, your state. So we hope that you guys will come on throughout and let us know if you attended,
Yes.
and what you thought about her speech and what her conversation is. So everybody has the book. Don't just put it on your shelf. Don't just leave it on your coffee table. Open it up, read it. I've got the book and the audio. So I like to listen to. You can tell by the clip I have it sped up a little bit because I think I think they actually slowed it down so you
Hmm.
can then do the option. Good job, ladies,
Thank
says
you.
Sheila. Let's see where are we on time. We are right at about 47
Yeah.
into the podcast, so we'll just kind of get ready to wrap up. Maybe go another 10 minutes just to kind of. And if anybody wants to dial in, on Periscope, you can actually hit the icon and come on with us and maybe chit chat with us. We don't mind that. In fact, we are going to have some guests over time period
Yes.
come in with us, and we're also looking to maybe meet up and do this live in the same room as many in the same room as many love to say. But just our theme today was becoming good enough. And we said that many people question that, even with the experience that she and I both have, bringing Atlanta into this technology and so forth. Helping Angela has hashtag lunch chat. What day is your chat? Are you still doing it on a weekly? How are you doing lunch
Yeah,
chat?
you stay tuned. Hopefully, I'll have a good schedule posted. So just keep an eye on my Twitter. My Facebook is public. Angela Stalcup. There's a couple of Angela Stalkups out there, but you probably will be able to tell which one's mine because I keep my profile public.
Okay.
But yeah, but
Yeah,
we'll
just
we'll
just drop the hashtag,
I
maybe
will. I'll
something here
drop
and
it
there.
and let people know because it's been a bit hit or miss. And as we were talking about, we're dealing with various different stages of life, but hopefully we're going to get back to a regularly scheduled programming. And again, I love anything that's interactive and this idea of launching, we're always in the process of launching something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so what are you launching? And my experience comes out of business but also out of life. I think again we all to your point, how you survived, you're where I'm here, you're here,
Right.
right? And I've
And
been
sometimes
through
that's all we can say is, I'm here. I'm here.
absolutely, and I've been through many iterations and iterations I don't always talk about, right? And so I think
Mm-hmm.
we all have that too. And one of the things I appreciate, Yolanda, that you are always talking about is, let's be transparent. And sometimes we're, again, back to this thing of just because we're winning, just because we look like they're winning doesn't mean that we're not losing,
Mm-hmm.
is to say, people got things going on. And I think everybody has a right to privacy, right? And so you don't
Right.
necessarily have to share all your business, right?
Right.
But when you feel like you can share some of that vulnerability and some of those challenges, and it really does help. And you and I basically, we've been bumping each other for years, but really
Mm-hmm.
reconnected over this caregiving space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, boy, that's a thing. And I think it'll be interesting, and I'm hoping that we can do maybe a podcast
Oh,
session on that about becoming while being a caregiver, because
let me mention this. A couple of months ago, I was invited to interview Soledad O'Brien.
mm,
And I went through the phase of good enough. It's been a
mm-hmm.
it's been a while since I've done an interview. I don't know what the current events are of the day. And I searched and I'm like, and let me just set this up. The I was invited to spend the day at the Spanx Corporation. Okay. And I'm like, Man, it's been so long since I did that. What on earth? How could I have a conversation with Soledad? And tell you the truth, there's probably nobody better to have a conversation with Soledad. But then when I went into it thinking wrong, just entirely wrong, because maybe it wasn't what Soledad had to tell me. Maybe it was Soledad to see me having come through what I've come through. Because where is she right now?
Today.
Today, right? So when you sit and you dwell on yourself, and this is the whole thing, Angela, when I talk about how to blog about this, because I kept saying, I don't know the current events. There's no way I can interview Soledad. I don't know what her current projects are. I don't have time to research. I don't have the mindset. But maybe walking in there and she and I having known of each other and crossed paths a time or two, maybe the lesson of the day would have been her seeing me come through all that I came through because of where she is today, less than a month or so behind me having that invitation. That's why you got to know you're good enough.
Yes,
You got to know it.
and for anybody who doesn't know what Soledad, on this date today, Soledad O'Brien lost both of her parents within 40 days of each other, and so if there's there's no grief like the loss of your mom, right?
Right.
And Yalanda and I have both been through that, and she lost her dad, and then 40 days later her mom, and so you say in the grand scheme of things, you know, like you say, you didn't know about current events, but boy, you know about life, right? And I will tell you, it's a club nobody wants to be in, but you can't understand it till you've been in it.
Till you've
And
been in it.
so like you say, she can look at you and see that you came through. And sometimes that's the lesson. That's the message you have to give people. God, it's like the thing I tell people more than anything. One bit of advice that I ever give. And I've been given advice. They called me Dear Angie when I was in middle school, like Dear Abby, right? I've been handing out advice since I could open my lips and talk, right? Is to say, sometimes you just got to get through a thing. And it's not pretty. It doesn't have to be elegant. You just got to go through it. And it's that, what isn't there a country song? If you're going through hell, keep on going. Sometimes the only way to get through it is to keep moving forward. And sometimes you will lay down in the floor. Sometimes you're going to lay down and not be moving, but that's okay. You get back up. And so I think that is, and it's easy to, you can give lip service to that concept, but when you talk to somebody who's done it, right? There's a power in it that lets you know, okay, this is not, other people have done it, I can do it too. So I'm sure that Yalanda, that Soledad got as much out of that, and I've had an opportunity to be at events with her and to hear her speak, and she's a very open person, and I think that
she is,
and I'm sure she did benefit because she would be open to that, and and I'm so glad you did that. I'm gonna, yay, and
yeah, I wish, you know what, but I didn't go. I didn't go because I couldn't work through, and I couldn't work through the good enough. Because I'm like, whoa, I hadn't been in that capacity in a while. So, and I wish I had gone, but the lesson in that and working through it in my own mind, it's like, wow, because too often times we think that we got to bring something to the table, and we really don't know what it is, and that speaks to also being transparent. People thinking it means share everything and put it all out there, and that's not what it is. You started this conversation talking about the imposter syndrome. I couldn't go that day because I couldn't put on the mask. I couldn't put on the blog hat because I didn't want to be in that space with all these young women that they were working with and be an imposter.
and sometimes you just can't, and that's okay too, right? It's okay to say, I'm just not up to it today. Because to your point, we wear everything that we present to the world as a mask.
Yes.
It's like our skin is a boundary to our body. We have boundaries to the world, and we wear different hats basically we're always an avatar, right? What
Yes.
avatar am I today? And sometimes you just don't have it in you, and that's fine. And I think we got to give ourselves a break on that, right?
Mm.
Is to say sometimes I just am not up to it. But I saw something on Twitter, and I wish I knew who to give credit to this. If I find out who it is, I'll put it in a, and connect it to this in some way. And I was just scrolling through Twitter and I saw this, and I should have remarked who it was, but they said people who are really imposters never worry about imposter syndrome.
Ooh.
Burn, right? It's like, and I'm like,
That's it right there.
if you are worried about it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
ain't it,
Yeah.
right? Because
There you go.
as a real imposter is not worrying that they're an imposter,
That they're
right?
an imposter.
So if you're worried about it, you ain't. And I was
That's
like,
I always say your conscience will bring you through it, bring you back around to it. Oh my God, Angela, this was a great one, guys. We have got much, much more that's going to come to you again Tuesdays on Periscope and Twitter. So if you don't do Periscope, you can literally just go to a Twitter page and you can see it as well as engage and interact with it. You guys have steadily been streaming in and giving kudos for what you're hearing. So thank you guys so much for that. AngelaStalcup.com. AngelaStalcup.com. I'm only spelling that because I know it's going to be on every platform and they won't see all of
thank
the
you.
heading and everything that I put there. DryerBuzz, Yalanda, Lattimore, Dryer, DryerbUzz, and you can .com that. You can hashtag both of those, and it'll get you to us. I know because even today, a lot of times just hashtag is like the thing. So, gosh, I'm telling you. So we're gonna end here, and we'll meet you guys back here on Tuesdays. Please make sure you like, make sure you follow, and make sure you share. And like Angela said, if you're worried about being an imposter, you probably not. And guess what that means? That means you just might be good enough. All right, guys. All right, Angela, you good?
I'm good.
You're supposed to say I'm good enough.
I'm good enough.
All right, I'm good enough too. And I hope that this podcast was good enough for you. We'll catch you guys back here next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.